All right, we're recording. All right, first thing,
Yeah.
appreciate y'all taking your time and meeting today about our walkthrough observations and teacher feedback form. Uh, First, just start with introductions of everybody. If Shelly, you want to start it off?
Sure. I'm Shelley Shepherd, principal, Madisonville High School.
Marcus Rosebach, assistant principal at Madisonville High School.
Brady Conger, assistant principal, Madisonville High School.
Jason Cleary, automotive teacher at Madisonville High School.
Adam Borgfeld, government economics teacher, Madisonville High School.
I'm Tony Campbell, pre-K teacher at Madisonville Elementary School.
And I'm hosting the meeting, facilitating the meeting, Anthony Campbell, math teacher at Madisonville High School. Okay, since we're doing this by Zoom, I'll make sure to get the sign-in sheet to every one of y'all, and we'll sign it that we showed that we're in attendance and everything. Get that to y'all tomorrow. Just like I said, the purpose of the meeting is to discuss what we like, what we don't like, things on a walkthrough form. So I've got 4 walkthrough forms that we're gonna look at and discuss tonight. The first one is the one that Conger that we looked at today, and it's the one we use here in Madisonville off of DMAC, and it's the professional practices and responsibilities sheet. So this one right here, and just looking at it. So first, like one of the questions that I put on there is, how do you feel, like before we start discussing the paper, how do you feel when a principal or an assistant principal comes into your room? Is there any way that you feel differently? If anybody wants to start that one off.
Back whenever I was teaching, obviously you kind of get a little nervous, even though you're doing a good job every day. It's still the kids kind of would act different or feel like they need to be put on a show or something versus the normal everyday relaxation time. It kind of intense, made it a little intense feeling, is what I remember feeling that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll second that for sure. I mean, it's you're always trying to be a little more prepared than you normally would if you know when it's coming, or I think you're more in tune out to all the little details that you normally wouldn't be worried about when they're sitting there in front of you.
So anybody, so be y'all being principals, is how do y'all feel like first time y'all had to go in there and observe a teacher walkthroughs? And is it different on that other side, like doing the walkthrough, the observation?
Well, what we've always told them is, that just treat it like every other day and things like that, but you can always tell that it's a little bit, different whenever you go in. But we've all had experience in the classroom as well, so we know what it feels like to be on that other side as well. But I think Shelley's main thing, with the observations and things is to be in there so frequently that it's not a big deal when we walk in. It's those things where you know they shouldn't, in theory, even look up. They're not there to entertain us or anything like that. We're just there, to take a little snapshot of what's going on in the classroom. That's
I know when I started walking into classrooms, the observation didn't make me a little nervous. It's the walkthroughs because that I just worry that I'm going to interrupt something and they're going to be in the middle of the lesson and then I'm going to throw them off or something like that. I really try to come in at the beginning of of the lesson just so that I can, watch that part, because it's kind of hard when you come in the middle of the lesson and even if the lesson's not going well or whatever, I always worry I'm going to throw them off, or, the kids are going to act up or something like that. So I try to come in at the beginning a lot of times.
Yeah.
Instead of in the middle.
Yeah, I was going to go for one today, but I was sitting there and the teacher was really the zone and had the lights out and showing them something on the board, and was really in the zone. So I didn't want to walk in and interrupt that. So part of it's timing too. But when I do walk in there, if it's a situation I want the kids to feel comfortable, especially if they're doing independent work. I go around and try to make them feel comfortable, ask them what they're doing, and have conversations instead of just sitting there gleaming at everybody. Try to join in a little bit instead of just standing with my arms folded, looking at everybody.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They all think, oh, I'm in trouble if they're
And
coming.
that also helps you to know what they're trying to accomplish in there, and kind of get an
Mhm.
understanding of, especially you can see if a student is understanding what's going on.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, okay, so getting to the forms, like I said, we'll start with this one first. What are some things on this form that y'all use or that y'all have seen that y'all like from these forms that you pull off of? Or some things that you don't like from the forms? This one had planning with standard and alignments, data and assessments, knowledge of students, activities, instruction, achieving expectations, content knowledge, expertise, communication, differentiation, monitoring adjustments, and then learning environment, just classroom environment, routine, procedures, any student behavior.
Well, for us, this is the platform that we use for observation. So that it does, as far as the planning, the instruction, the learning environment, it's all the areas that we presently look at when we do a full observation. So you could take pieces or chunks, or you can even just whatever part of the lesson they're in, and see if those things that you'll be looking at um, would are being achieved. So you're not necessarily looking at the whole as you are the part.
Yeah.
When you're walking in, it could be a situation. You could see if is there differentiation going on in the class. That's something you can see. If there's independent study, independent work going on, practice, or if they're are they grouped? You're just looking at those types of things. So you can, instead of looking at the whole piece, you can look at parts.
Yeah.
So you can approach it that way.
I would like it where, I'm sorry, I would like it where we just had the list, those little lists, and you could just jot down a few things beside it just to tell them what you saw,
Yeah.
during that time.
So jot down some notes.
You can jot down and just not get rid of that other side part
Yeah.
where the evidence and the rating. So you could just write down what you saw. I think this would help also if you're coming in after the observation and they scored proficient on something and you saw that it should go up to accomplished. And I think this might help with that for you to make notes. This was a better, I saw this during this lesson instead of the last lesson.
When y'all go in, do y'all know what expectations that you're looking for in your mind? Like I know it says achieving expectations, but is that
during the observations, we're looking for these things. But during the walkthrough, I'm just looking a lot of times after observations, I'm looking for those things that they scored proficient on or more or less so that I can push those ratings up. I'm looking to see if I can find some of that.
Sure.
Yeah, the observation is a whole different ball game than just a simple walkthrough. You want it to be, not complex at all, or quick. It's not as in depth by any means as the actual observation. If you're going in after an observation, to do a walkthrough after that, then you have a lot better idea or more specific of what you're looking for. But just a general going to do a walkthrough just to show our face in there and kind of see what's going on in the classroom with these kids and stuff. It's a lot more informal and quicker, check mark basically of what's going on and stuff is my thought.
Well, I know that they had us do 3 walkthroughs in the previous assignment that we did, and it was mainly looking for like the level of commitment and the level of abstractness for the teacher, and just how their classroom management was, how they committed they were to the lesson. If like one of them, the PowerPoint was very bland, and the lady was just kind of talking monotone and wasn't getting into it, and then another one, the English teacher is really getting into it, and you can tell the passion from the teacher right off the bat when you walk in. And so,
Well, and having an observation, you have time to prepare what you're going to say and things like that versus us popping in. It's more of a realistic look in what the classroom is like versus having hey, I know third period today I'm getting observed and this is what I'm going to say and do and things like that versus us opening and walking in the door. You can't turn on a dog and pony show. It's either natural, this is how they interact in the classroom normally, or you could probably tell sometimes that they're 100% prepared on an observation, but when you just pop in, it's not quite as natural, and so that's something we obviously know well.
all right, so let's move on to another. How about this one? The 5-minute observation.
This is more what I was talking about with kind of a check mark type of thing going in, being a quicker, different criteria, but it's a quicker thing where you can, but you also have a little bit of room off to the side to like Shelley was saying, with the making little notes and jotting things down and stuff. But this is more what I'm talking about, where it's, 5 minutes that you're in the classroom, what you see and don't see, and checking the boxes basically.
Yeah, just checking off real quick.
Mhm.
But when y'all go
Yeah,
in,
and so-
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying,
Well,
when
some of
y'all
these-
go in, do you like keep notes, handwritten notes as you go, and like keep times and what's going on? And no,
I don't. I just kind of go in and then I try to go right back to my office and type in, a note real quick what they did and what I liked and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it depends. Sometimes if I got my computer, I take it in and I just type it right there on the spot. But I don't put times. That's more of an full observation when we do that. To me, I'm just trying to capture the moment when we're doing just a walkthrough. So I really don't put any times or things. Just generally what I'm seeing, and hopefully when you walk into those situations, there's students engaged and and the teachers engaged in giving the lesson.
One thing I liked on this one was the, follow-up notes from the last visit. So it gave you a little place if you did your homework beforehand, like, hey, what did we talk about last time we were in here, or what we saw or didn't? And
Yeah.
kind of gave a little area for that. But if you plan to go before you go in there, you have some of those things on your mind right there in front of you.
I noticed on this one it had some like real specific too, like written records of student performance, and then the very last two, thermometer charts are posted and implemented correctly. That one kind of got detailed.
Yeah, the one
I
thing I'm
noticed-
looking on it is I'm not looking at the students' work is neat and well organized. That's not something that I think
Mm-mm.
that I'm looking at. So I wouldn't even consider that one. That's the one
You're
that
not
stands
grading
out.
them on neatness as you're walking through.
No, I'm not saying, well, hey, that one, he meant, your observation, my walkthrough, you're gonna have to work on that student's neatness, But anyway, you know what I mean?
For us, it's like seeing if the capturing the kids' hearts. What's the
Yeah.
list called? I can't remember what
Social
the
contract.
yeah, the contract stuff like that. Just simple, quick stuff that
Objective. Yeah.
objectives and things like that, or just quick, simple things that you can see.
Yeah, like this thermometer charts, that's more, data driven stuff that's up in front of the kids and stuff like that. That's more of a data situation. So I'm not, I mean, maybe if if they're really data driven, is super data driven, that maybe that's what they have hanging up on their walls, but that's not something like they're saying. What I'm looking for is the relationships that's going on in the classroom between teacher and student and student and student, and is there, learning going on, and is it rigorous enough to make the kids think, and that's what you're looking for, in my opinion. I just want to see those types of things when I walk into a classroom. Relationship is big because if you have that, then the students are going to work hard for the teacher, period.
Anybody else on that form?
Yeah, I think we would just have to change it up. Like I looked at teacher follows a script as written. I would hope
waiting
that
for
they
my
don't have a
script.
script, but they're just kind of,
Yeah, when you send in our scripts,
yeah, I don't have those. Yeah. So yeah, but just we'd have to change this up. But it wouldn't be hard.
it's a very,
But
very specific.
I do like this one the
I mean, is the teacher sitting behind their
best so
desk?
far.
Are they out moving around? Simple things like that. That are they interacting with the kids? Or
Mhm.
are the kids over here playing on the phone and the teacher doesn't even realize it? Type of thing. Sometimes.
Yeah.
All right. So one that I did like was this one. Looking at it, it's the teacher walkthrough. Because this one's kind of like what Shelley said. It gave you a spot for some notes. Quick, kind of had what Marcus said, where you can just quick check off, and then you can jot you down some notes as you're going. So
Yeah, this has both versions, kind of.
yeah, kind of
Yeah.
kind of a mixture of it. So it looks at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, six aspects or six things. Professional knowledge, instructional planning, instructional delivery, assessment of student learning environment, and then professionalism.
This kind of is aligned with the T-test, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this is an old T-test type form.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's where I got it, was an old T-test one.
Mm-hmm.
Is the T-test the same as what our DMAC stuff is through T-test?
Yeah, that's what
Yes.
DMAC is. That's the T-test itself.
Mm-hmm.
I think DMAC has changed the forms up in the last year or so from what T-test had out before.
Yeah. Well, and looking at this one, like you said, giving them positive feedback, like you're checking it off, you can give them a quick note. And then, like at the very end, I liked how it was saying, thanks for letting me visit, be a part of your day and keeping it up. I think for a teacher, like you said, the stress of teaching and everything, but hearing positive things from your principal, hitting on the highlights. It's kind of like we tell our kids or athletes is, don't focus on the negative, focus on the positive. So if you're doing stuff right, then check that off and see it. If they're doing stuff wrong, I don't think through a walkthrough, that stuff's going to be harped on as much, unless you really see something that's happening and you can step in and say something to them. But looking at those 7, is there anything that you would change? Or would you keep all 7 of them?
I like it because they know what we're looking for. They can see and they can tell if they get this, even if we didn't see it and we didn't mark anything on that one, say, assessment of student learning or whatever we didn't mark, they can still know what we're going to be looking for next time maybe or something.
Mm-hmm.
That it gives them a description. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can still break it down in parts. You don't have to cover every bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just whatever. You check whatever part you're looking at or whatever part the lesson's at.
Mm-hmm.
I like this one.
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all think that it's too wordy? Like you could minimize some of them words, take some words off. You're explaining
I
it.
think it's just a description of what they're looking for, so it's not that big of a deal. I mean, the main focus is that it's professional knowledge, and then it gives you what that means for guys that don't know what a lot of these things mean.
And kind of what you're looking for. I like that. It's what we would be looking for when we come into the room.
And plus, it gives you notes to say you can tell them exactly what you observed that fits that. Whether it be instructional planning or delivery, you can tell them immediately what it is. Feedback.
Yeah. So far, that one's the best one.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
All right. So the last form, look at this one right here. And this one is also T-test aligned, so it's one that you use, and this one just hits really three main things, which is planning, instruction, and then environment.
I don't like this one as much because I don't think I like being able to give a note or something to make it more personal. I mean, here
You're just checking.
there's
Yeah,
no place
just check boxes.
you're just check boxes, which is good, but you also want to be able to give feedback.
Hmm.
Mhm.
There's no place to give feedback.
Yeah. Anybody else on that one?
Yeah, I mean that's what I agree with. I think it's just you're just checking boxes, and you really don't have an opportunity to proceed with any comments or discussion with the teacher about anything on this one.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of vague there with what's going on. I mean that a lot of these things, there's a lot of stuff that can be implied from it, and you really don't know what you're doing good or not, maybe, or they're not doing well or in any aspect. And so I think there's just a lot of vagueness in it.
Well, like you're saying, I think through a 5-10 minute walkthrough, you're not going to be able to see, like in the planning, addressing student strengths and knowledge gaps and skill levels. You
Right.
will notice that. And like Brady was saying, you're just going to see, is the student engaged? Is the teacher building that relationship? Is that teacher getting their lesson across? But I don't know if you're going to be able to really see if that kid's having a gap in that lesson. I mean, I do like the environment, the three things in the environment: procedure, routines, efficient. I mean, you should be able to walk in and see a teacher's classroom management or their routine, and that it's strong, that kids are raising their hand or they're asking permission to do things and things like that. Student meet expectations of behaviors, engaging students in meaningful learning.
Yeah, I think the information on this sheet's good. It's just not room to for feedback, not room
Yeah,
for different things like that.
maybe making it more of a form like the other one.
Hmm.
I think if you just take it, like the other one that we liked, and give you some boxes out to the side
Hmm.
Yeah,
and give you an area to put notes, and check whatever you saw and give notes, good or bad, at least I think it could be.
hmm
Hmm.
perfect. So then like I said, I'll go through these forms. Like I said, I think we really like that one, this one right here. And so that's what
Hmm.
I'm gonna try to create something from it, and also maybe pull the follow up from the last visit, maybe try to fit that in there, if we've talked about that,
Hmm.
and create my own form, and I'll let you know what it looks like. The last question just had, and we kind of hit on it a little bit, but just how do you like getting your feedback, like from your principal, or giving your feedback? So like after you go through the 5 to 10 minute walkthrough, how do you give that feedback to the teacher? Do you have them come sit in for a meeting, or is it through an email, or just giving them the form? How do you go about doing that, or how do you like getting it as a teacher? Let everybody kind of say what they think.
Well, as a teacher, I would like to meet personally with the administrator, just so if there's any discussion with it, it'd be best face to face instead of through an email or in whatever in that situation. That's just my opinion. I just like to meet face to face. I like to communicate with each other about things.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I mean, if if it's all good feedback and something quick, hey, popped in for a few minutes, stepping out in the hall and say, hey, yeah, that was a good job on this. I like this part, or whenever you catch them passing period or something. If it's something needs to be discussed, then yeah, definitely pull me into your office. Let's talk about this and figure out what's going on, figure out how to fix it. So,
I think from an administrator's point of view on that, you don't want to take a teacher's time from their conference or something like that unless it is something that needs to be discussed face to face, like Coach Borg was saying that if it is something that needs to be discussed and there's something that needs to be improved or something like that, it definitely needs to be face to face. But if it's something, hey man, you're doing a great job, continue what you're doing, these are the things that I saw. I think that can be done through an email or something of that nature, since it's just a simple walkthrough, because you don't want to waste a teacher's conference time to,
mhm.
to do that. So that's just my point of view as far as that goes. But if there is something that needs to be discussed, absolutely, you don't want to send a you don't want to send an email. Hey, this is what you need to fix. So, we need to sit down and
Yeah.
have a discussion.
And it can be all positives, and they'll still take it as a negative a lot of
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Some people, especially back in the old T-test days when they got 5s all the way across the board, and then you move more into what is it now? T-test. Getting proficient is actually really good, but man, you can't imagine the tears and anger that came from that when we transitioned to that process.
Yeah.
Even if you tell them, hey, you did a great job. This is something that I think you should work on. That's all they focus on. They don't focus on any of the positive things that you just said. So
Yeah.
face to face is always better because an email can be read all different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know when I go in, it depends on what the teacher's doing. A lot of times, if they're doing individual stuff with kids or they're playing a game or doing something fun, I'm talking to the kids. I'm talking to the teacher. I like this. I like that. This. But then if they're doing a test or doing something that I don't want to disturb them or they're lecturing, I don't want to disturb them, then I email them real quick, But most of the time, I'm in there talking to them too. If they're in a lesson that they can talk. So it kind of depends on the lesson in the class, what I do. Always give email back, but still I do tell them, good job. I liked this or whatever. If I can.
Tony, does Dr. Brooks do anything different?
No. She'll come in and she'll sit there and let you do your lesson. And now she does appointments. So you can be prepared, not surprised. Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate all of y'all giving up your time, giving up your evening so we can meet and talk about this. And I'll get the data all put back together and I'll let you know the form that I come up with. So I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Anthony.
it.
Have a good one.
Everybody.